So welcome to the Courageous Nerd YouTube channel. My name is Connor. I'm joined today by Nathan Kress. Nathan, how are you doing today?
Great. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for being here. And obviously, season three of the iCarly revival drops very soon on Paramount Plus. And I imagine you can't say too much about it yet, but what can you tease, if anything?
Yeah. So the big thing is when our second season ended, we left it on a little bit of a cliffhanger where
Mm,
Freddie's girlfriend, who he is very serious about, called out Carly and Freddie's relationship, said, "You two are still in love with each other," and stormed off.
mm,
So we have to deal with the fallout of that. We can't really just keep going and pretend like that didn't happen. So that is for Carly and Freddie. That's what this season is about: is sitting down and saying, okay, what is our relationship? How do we feel about each other? And how are we going to move forward? Because obviously something is wrong and people are getting hurt. So that is a process. It's not done right away.
mm,
Um, but we are finally going to give the audience the answers that they're looking for as
mm.
far as Carter's relationship. This is the season where it's going to happen one way or
Yeah.
another.
I mean, it's been 15 odd years in the making, I think, at this point, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's been, I mean, talk about a build up.
Yeah. I honestly think we should probably submit to the Guinness Book of World Records for the longest slow burn will they won't
Mm.
they relationship, because I'm pretty sure we have it.
Yeah. Minus the one episode though where Freddie got hit by was a taco truck and they were together for like a little
Yes.
bit. Minus that, I guess. But
Right. Yeah. So they did date for that one time where it was kind of just a pity date. And
mm.
then the show ended with Carly kissing him right
Oh, that's
before
right. Yeah, yeah.
they left. So there was like a what was that about thing.
Mm.
And that's one of the things we have to address.
Mm.
You know, we couldn't just pretend like the other show didn't happen. It's
Mm.
part of their canon, it's part of their lore, you know.
Yeah.
And we had to also fill in the gaps of some events that happened between Carly and Freddie after the old show ended, but before this one started, because their relationship is a little bit different in this new show, and we have to explain why.
Mm.
So yeah, there's a lot to unpack. It's a very meaty season, and there's some really good dramatic moments and like some fights and conflict and
Mm.
character moments between a lot of different characters and the relationships that are changing. So there's just a lot to it. I think we can all agree, I think as a cast, this is our favorite season so far.
Great. Yeah. And obviously you mentioned the original show and having, it had a huge fan base. And I
Yeah.
know in like the early like press interviews you did for season one of the revival, you were kind of saying this is like made in mind for those original fans. Like in what ways do you think the revival has kind of achieved or accomplished that intention?
Well, I think the hardest thing and the most rewarding thing simultaneously about this show is that we have been trying to toe the line between giving that satisfying nostalgia, trying to maintain the core essence of what the show felt like, while also making it completely different and new. So it was sort of this paradox where, if you went too far in one direction, you're either saying you're abandoning the old show and you're just doing something completely different and it's so far off base that it doesn't feel right,
Right.
or you are pandering to your old audience. You're not growing, you're not changing, you're just rehashing, you're just doing the same thing over again. And it just feels like a kid show. You're just doing another kid show again. You're not doing
Mm.
an adult show. So those are the ends of the spectrum. And we have to find that middle spot. So that has been really tough. But what I can say is, like, regardless of what anybody feels about the show, and I'm sure there are a ton of opinions out there, and from what I've seen and we're looking, most of it has been positive so far. Obviously, a fair share of constructive criticisms and some people who just hate that because it's not the entire original returning cast or because it's
Mm.
not similar enough. Like, it's just bad no matter what, and there's nothing we're going to be able to do to ever change their minds. So, there's divisions of, people's opinions on it. But no matter what I know that we can say is that our primary motivation and the every single conversation that Miranda and Jerry and I have as producers on the show, and with Miranda being an executive producer on the show and having a large amount of creative influence, is our first question is, what do we think the fans would want to see? This whole thing is fan service on purpose. We're not abashed about that because fans are the reason why this show is still successful and why they were able to use the name iCarly to help launch a whole new streaming service. You know? So the fact that we had fans that showed up for that, it's proof positive that we need to do right by them. And like if you could call this whole thing fan fiction, sure. You know, why not? Like why would we not want to give them something that is gratifying and satisfying after all these years, especially with the Carly and Freddie relationship? That carrot was dangled for a really long time. So being able to truly say, okay, if we're gonna start answering these questions, if we're gonna go down this road, what do we think that the fans would want? And am I saying we're going to get that perfectly? No, probably not. But what I do want people to always remember is that was the first question we would ask ourselves. And that was the common thread and the mantra of the whole show, but especially the third season, because so many big things happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know obviously for you, from an acting perspective, there's probably like a very small category of people that you're in where, you know, you've played this character as like an awkward kind of teenager, kind of finding his footing, and now coming back to it all these years later, and he's a father. So, like, I suppose, despite those obvious differences, what do you think's been consistent about Freddie across the two shows?
I think the guy, no matter what happens to him, I you know, he would get a lot more wound up in the original show, and things would just bug him a lot more. But I think as the show started to progress toward the end of the run of the series, he kind of just started to let things go a little bit and have a little bit more of a relaxed attitude and just a go with it, roll your eyes, laugh about it kind of perspective. And I think that continued as a really good thread for him going forward, because so much bad stuff has happened to him with his divorces and with his job and going completely broke and having to move back in with his mom. And, you know, nothing is going right. His daughter hates him. You know, there's just nothing going for him. But he has still retained his Freddie attitude and his helpfulness and his love for his friends and his self-sacrificial, self-deprecating attitude. I think is the reason why he didn't crack as a person. You know, he's in a sense, he's sort of a shell of himself, and there was kind of a conscious decision to make him not really seem like himself. He's a different, like, all the way down to just how he looked physically. That it just, like, he was sort of down and just wasn't really taking care of himself. He wasn't who we knew him to be. And yet he still had the personality, you know, but then that changed a little bit going into the second season. He kind of got his mojo back. Right at the end of the first season, he had a new job venture that he was going out on. And then in the second season, that finally becomes successful. He's kind of getting his groove back. He gets a girlfriend that he's really into. And things are just like steadily working his way up. And then I think that kind of culminates in the third season. Granted, I guess it could always culminate more, but I don't know what a fourth season would be. That's the mystery of it. But at the very least, I think Freddie's had a kind of redemption arc, that he's held on to who he was, but his circumstances have changed enough that he's finally getting his whatever the good version of a comeuppance is.
For sure. And obviously, like, on the topic of his daughter, of Millicent, I interviewed Jayden last year about season 2, and and obviously, like, you know, she was full of praise about you, kind of saying how the bond in real life kind of mirrors Freddie and Millicent. So I suppose to kind of turn the question to you, like, how have you found working with Jayden?
Fantastic. She's so talented. She's so funny. It's amazing what she was able to pull off, and the things that we were throwing at her when she was, you know, 10. There was some really crazy dialogue, and, you know, we do a lot of alts on the show where, you know, once we get it, we start playing around with different dialogue. So that's really hard to do when you're that young, and she handled it like a champ. She did
Mm.
better than I ever could, that's for sure. But she's great. I totally agree. She's very much like my little TV daughter, and I love it because I have two kids, but they're a whole lot younger.
Mm.
So I feel like I'm getting kind of a cheat sheet on what it
Yeah.
might be like to have an older kid. Uh, and so that's been fun. I get a little bit of my kid fix because I miss them a lot when I'm at work, but I'm at least
Right.
able to have my TV daughter. She's fun to have around.
Yeah, that sounds really lovely for sure, definitely. I know in terms of the show and bringing back characters from the original show, I mean, there's been I think already quite a few exciting names people really wanted to see back. Obviously, like some Neville Papperman, Nora Dershlit, kind of naming a few there. I know obviously you can't say anything about maybe potential future returning characters, but of the ones that have already been on, like with Rennie, that you're particularly excited to have back.
Yeah, Neville was a big one for me.
Mm,
Reed Alexander. We became really good friends because of the show, way back in the day. So getting to reconnect with him was really fun and just see where he's at in his life, writing
mm,
for a bunch of different publications and stuff. And so he was a big one. And you can see in the trailer, so it's not spoiling too much. James Maslow came back. We had a whole high
yeah,
school,
yeah, yeah.
so a lot of old characters from the old show that had smaller parts or like one or two episodes. We got to have them back, which was really fun. We get Principal Franklin back again.
Mm,
The really fun one has been having Josh Peck, because he's not, he wasn't a character on iCarly, but
yeah.
I grew
He's,
up watching Drake and Josh. It was one
he's
of
in
my
that Nick
favorite.
universe, isn't he? Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he plays a totally different character now, but just getting to have one of those guys who I looked up to so much as one of my like comedy mentors,
Mm,
watching as a little kid, has been super fun. And he has several episodes this season, and he's fun to just watch do his thing, because just the way that he can take one joke and deliver it 15 different ways is always very inspirational for
mm.
an actor to watch. So I feel like I get to learn a lot from him. And um yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I can say.
Mm. Be
Yeah.
careful.
Yeah, no, I probably shouldn't, just in
Mm,
case I say something stupid. But those are my favorites, at least.
mm. For sure. Yeah, I know we haven't got a lot of time left, so I suppose I'll end with this. And it's like, what would you want to say to, I guess, fans of the original show who've become fans of this revival? Obviously, I mentioned there's been like 15 years of a journey overall. Like, what would you want to say to the people, back in who started in '07 and here they are now?
Yeah. However many different ways I can say thank you
Mm,
for just the incredible determination and support that they have shown for all of these years, and the fact we still get people talking to us on social media and like posting photos from the old show, and
mm.
the dedication and the love that we have seen worldwide is just, it's heartwarming and humbling and gratifying. And it's something that I'm glad for, at least me personally, and my lived experience on that show and on this show. I've had a great time.
Mm.
It's been a formative part of my life, and I don't regret any of it. uh and I'm just glad that people were willing to stick with us, and especially the people who transitioned over with us and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
became adults along with us,
Mm,
and came
yeah.
for the ride,
Mhm,
and who have enjoyed the show. Just again, thank you for
mm.
your unwavering support. It means so much to us, and we are very, very truly, in every sense, we're doing this for you. This is our love letter to you. So thank you.
For sure. Well, I guess just to say, best of luck with season 3 and everything going forward. And thanks again for taking the time to chat today.
Thank you. Absolutely. Thanks for having me.